Sup, Reitannite, it's Reitanna Seishin here. Sorry that I sound like, I don't know, a zombie. For some reason my sleepy meds wouldn't work properly last night, and it took forever to get to sleep, so much so that Mike actually had to give me, one of my old pills that were a lower dose to finally, send my body over to sleep. And I ended up sleeping literally until 5:30. Didn't help that I had more of those nightmares that I love so much, but, somebody commented on one of my DA journals from, July 2016, wondering if I would narrate it for my YouTube, because it's about a dream. So, here we go. This is a dream journal from July 23rd, 2016. Had a weird dream last night where there was a portal in Encephalon that led to a completely uncharted territory. It had never been explored, and scientists couldn't even pick up any activity on the other side, so they urged people not to go inside. Well, I went inside, though people were screaming at me not to. It was strange. There were these fluffy clouds in a bright blue sky, and objects of every shape, each containing every color in existence, and probably some that don't exist at all. I was being sucked through this weird space, and every time I collided with an object, I went through it. I couldn't turn back, even if I wanted to. My throat also hurts, so. Then I was in Encephalon again, but it was way different. As I explored, I discovered that hosts were bad, and others were quote-unquote disorders that helped them instead of hinder them. For every host that had hair, it was black, but the rest of their features were normal for whatever species they were. There was an alternate me that had black hair pulled into a really odd ponytail mohawk thing, real spiky like dragon spines. She looked so mean. I did not want to confront her. The hosts all wore black, too. Wayward City was dark, as always, but it was more like a city during a very peaceful night, not having that reddish glow, but calm violet. Everyone was friendly, walking around the streets and chatting. I ran into alternate Anatir, who had tamed black hair, 2 bright yellow eyes instead of one listless one. Shadows under her eyes were less pronounced, and her sharp teeth didn't protrude from her mouth. Her smile was real cute and innocent. She looked like a goddamn angel. When I ran into her, she blinked at me, tilted her head curiously, and smiled. She stared at me closely and knew she recognized me, but I wasn't sure how this world worked, so I hid my face and ran. Clearwater Park looked like a video game in its alpha stage, except it had its characters and stuff. Some things were there, but it was all blocky, and the quote-unquote unfinished parts were just black space that you could fall into if you weren't careful. The ocean had plants and sea life floating around, but no water yet. Some building details looked like stickers. Smilesville was still colorful and bright, and everyone was cheery, but it was like the Cupcake/Muffins Pinkie Pie, where they'd smile and giggle but say something incredibly menacing. They were very dangerous, and had a giant jet-black dragon that was only a huge shadow, and it breathed crimson fire. Evelyn had these wide, creepy eyes, never stopped smiling, and her hair, just like all the hosts, was black. She had me in an outdoor clear elevator, and was giving me a tour, and this was before I realized how dangerous this place was. She was telling me about the dragon, how it kills or eats anyone that gets near it. Then she said, "Want to get a closer look?" She sent the elevator down toward it, laughed like an insane person, and leapt out of the elevator, zip-lining across the cable to escape. I was freaking out. I'm very afraid of fire, so getting burned was one of the last ways I wanted to go. But then, a white and gray mass collided with the elevator, ripping it from the cable and pushing it up toward the sky. I looked and saw Eopmis, but she too looked angelic, even though she already did with those wings. Her smile was more like Naleve's, her skin a bit lighter gray, no shadows around her eyes, which were a shiny and bright black. She also had senpai on her back, my senpai, not the alternate senpai I saw earlier. She had come into the portal to rescue me, using alternate yachtmess. I shouted at her with glee, and then we hurtled toward the top of a building where alternate Anatir was standing. She hopped into the elevator with me, and I said, She hopped into the elevator with me and said, "I knew I recognized you." Then she turned to Yachtmess, who was still flying us to safety, and said, "I love you, Ippy." We traveled toward a portal, though in a different place than the portal I came from was, wow, typo, and we landed in front of it, the alternate others and my best friend helping me out. The others looked so sweet, it was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. Alternate Anatir informed me that this portal would take me back. Apparently, Ippy was mute. Senpai called me a crazy bitch, and we laughed as we went through the portal. Instead of a sky with weird objects, it was a gigantic waterslide. It kept going for miles, and even though I hate water, it was so much fun. I saw other people riding it too, and noticed portals everywhere. Like, remember Monsters, Inc.? All the doors traveled across those metal beams, and doors lined the walls? The water slides were like the beams, and on the walls were millions of portals, each leading to an alternate version of Encephalon. People were taking slides to get back to their own universe. Somehow, though, everything started moving in reverse, like the dream was rewinding. I became lucid and started yelling, "No! No! I was having a good dream! A good dream!" It sucked me back through the alternate Encephalon all the way through my previous journey into the weird space with sky and objects, and then played forward again. This time, however, the space turned jet black, and I was thrown out of a portal into a place even darker than Wayward City. I was having a hard time controlling my movement, having to send the signals to my brain multiple times to walk, move my arms, or even look in a certain direction. I saw a fence in the distance and realized that I was in the alternate version of the unknown quadrant. It looked like the darkest ghost town you can imagine, barely being lit, but any sort of light, barely being lit by any sort of light, says but. Not only that, but no sound seemed to exist except for my own breathing, voice, and whatever sound I made while trying to move. I had landed on a cement porch, and looking up at the building it was attached to, it appeared to be the shabbiest abandoned warehouse one could think of. There was one lone bulb above a rusty door. I didn't proofread this. Lit, though so dim it was brown. The door suddenly burst open with a loud bang. No echoes existed here. And two people ran out. Someone that looks like alternate Coda, since he already has black hair and wears black. It was his nasty and evil facial expression and his unwashed hair that gave me the clue that he wasn't my Coda. And a thin, tall woman who looked like she hadn't slept in her life. She had thrown off some sort of filthy lab coat, and her dark crimson hair was pulled back in a ponytail that almost reached the ground. She looked more evil than any of the hosts I had seen around, and luckily she didn't notice me after she chased after alternate Coda. Their non-echoing footsteps faded, and I managed to force myself to go through the open door. The hallway was more lit up, a dim orange, and there were many doors on each side, some open. Excuse me. There were many rusted and broken water pipes emitting hot steam instead of water, and I heard some sort of low mechanical drone from somewhere deep within the building, like a of some kind of machine or something. I turned right to go down the stairs of the first open door, but my body kept resisting my brain signals. Then I heard something say in the most wicked, disgusting, monstrous voice I had ever heard, "How did you get out?" I wasn't sure what that meant, but instantly all of the doors opened, and these fucking creatures, goddamn, they were fast and terrifying as hell. They were tall, spindly, and their skins seemed to be one giant scab. Their small heads had 2 empty eye sockets and a small open space that was supposed to be a mouth, but had no lips or teeth. No, the teeth were on its torso. A huge membrane stretched from its front, forming a gigantic mouth with enormous human teeth that honestly were the same shape and proportion of my own lovely huge teeth. Inside the mouth, there was no tongue, but a large empty hole that led into blackness, but it was surrounded by at least 5 rows of blood-stained spikes, the outermost being huge, each row after getting smaller until reaching the circumference of the hole. Now that I think about it, that kind of, aside from the human teeth, it kind of sounds like a demigorgon from Stranger Things. But it doesn't look like a demigorgon, but it reminds me of one. Like I said, these fuckers were fast, and they were groaning, lashing their brick-like teeth and sending saliva everywhere. I backed out of the first door as fast as I could, but fell backward on the cement porch, backing up against the metal grate. At least 5 of them were mere inches from me, many more crowded behind them. I kept screaming, "No, I was having a good dream! Bring me back to the good dream!" Before they could harm me, Michael had woken me up and asked if I was all right. I asked him if I had been making any sound, and he said no, but I was shaking really violently, which is wont to happen. I hardly ever wake up with a scream anymore. I used to a lot, but now it's just shaking, which makes me really mad because sometimes in my dreams I will sit there and scream at the top of my lungs and try to call Michael's name in order to reach the real world so that he can wake me up. Because now, I'm 99% lucid in my dreams. Or more like, I'm lucid in 99% of my dreams. Reitanna can speak. Okay. Shaking violently. I get really pissed off when I'm screaming bloody murder. Oh, hey, in my bloody murder in my dreams, but not making any type of yell in real life. I'm trying to wake myself up, trying to get my real body to shriek, but it never happens when I'm lucid. I wasn't very shaken once I was up, wasn't panting, but I was sweating a bit. I got over it quickly, but found it amusing that my dream was making fun of my giant teeth. Anyway, I'm not sure if this multiverse thing is going to be canon. I'll have to make that decision later after my encephalon is a little more developed. God, Anna and Ippy were so cute. So yeah, I actually don't remember the last time I managed to scream out loud. Luckily, sometimes I do gasp myself awake. But lately, it's just been, for the past couple of years, it's just been shaking, writhing, thrashing, twitching. I've punched Michael, I've hit him, I've kicked him, and whenever he knows the body movements now, that means I'm having a bad dream, so he'll, if I'm not awake, he'll turn over and he'll hold me, and that usually wakes me up, a little bit, but I end up falling back asleep. Honestly, I can't recall if I go back into the same dream or if it changes. So, I guess it just depends on what my mind decides to, do. But, I really wish, actually, I really wish that, I would manage to scream out loud, because screaming myself awake is a lot better than having to endure the things that I have to go through. For this dream, I didn't remember it until, I read it through, and the images that I remember are a bit blurry, but I'm still able to recall what most of the images were. I honestly cannot remember Ippy's face, but I remember Anna's, specifically when she looked at me and smiled. And not only that, but these were not realistic people. It was as if this was an animation. This were an animation. They were all drawn in my Reitanna fiction style, which was crazy. And I could honestly draw Anna with her she was wearing this cute little hat. I don't know why I didn't mention the cute little hat. It was like a little beanie. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny. Anyway, So that was a dream journal of alternate encephalon. I'm actually kind of surprised I never narrated it for my channel. So, what? That took me only 15 minutes? Impossible! So, if you liked this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, spread the word of awesome, become a Reitannite, and click a little bell, and I shall see you later, alligators and crocodiles. Goodbye!